Hey friends! Hope you're all doing super well. For as long as I can remember, my favorite number has been 53, and that is only because of a pearl white 1963 Volkswagen Beetle named Herbie the Love Bug. I used to be absolutely obsessed with his movies growing up, and in fact, I still have all of the DVDs somewhere around the house if I can find them. That little bug is also the reason I got into racing at all. It had all of the action, the drama that a child could want. I mean, heck, even the car tried to jump off a bridge? Wait a second, I don't remember that happening.
No, Herbie, don't!
After I began to grow out of the Herbie phase, which I still fully haven't, to be honest, my love for racing only grew, as well as my interest in all things cars in general. Thanks to my 1974 AMC Gremlin that I have sitting in my back garage, I was able to just about grow up in an engine bay, and the love for motorsport got even bigger from there. The Forza Motorsport games were where I had my first gaming experience, and it was the fourth to be exact. To this day, I can still remember driving backwards on the track, running headfirst into cars, and doing just about every single thing that I wasn't supposed to. But back then, one thing always upset me: the rain. It didn't matter what I was doing, if there was rain on the track, I would always spin out or lose control, or it would kill my visibility, and I would just lose my vibe. But now that I've gotten older and someone gave me enough money to buy me a racing simulator, this one specifically, I've been spending some time trying to improve my skills and racing a heck of a lot more than I should reasonably have time for. And in fact, my feelings have just about completely switched on the rain, and that's what I want to talk about today. My name is Respect the Badge, and welcome to... Racing has always been an adrenaline junkie sport, from the days of old when they thought it was safer to eject you from the car than to be trapped in it during a crash, to modern-day F1 where a driver can experience more G-force than a fighter pilot depending on the turn. It has never been for the faint of heart. And since we've gotten more and more complicated cars with more and more skilled drivers, we've also taken it upon ourselves to attempt to make the sport harder. Different classes of racing, going from racing around a track as quickly as you can to then drifting around it as stylishly, or not even racing on roads at all with things like rally. We even got so crazy that we decided to start building cars that can drive at over 200 miles an hour for 24 hours straight, where the drivers need a break before the car does. But no matter what genre of the sport you find yourself attracted to, we can all agree that rain is a massive game changer. But before we really get into that, let's take a step back and let me tell you a story. Remember just a second ago when I told you that my entire feelings on driving in the rain changed? Let me tell you why that is. It primarily came from one night driving home from my now ex's house. It was a great night, I'll admit. I was blasting a song that I knew, watching the rain come down while driving at exactly the speed limit and nothing over, for sure. While taking one of the turns, suddenly the back end of my 2008 PT Cruiser that I had felt very, very light, and I lost traction. Luckily, I knew how to handle the car, just fluttered the gas a little bit, let the steering wheel take more control, and slid through the corner. Now, in the racing world, we would call this a drift, but for me, it was a holy shit, that was fun moment. Now, where most people would shut off the music and drive home in utter silence, I took a little bit of a longer route home, hoping it would happen again. But what exactly made this happen? For that, I need to explain how a tire works. Like myself for a long time, most people think that the tread on a tire, the groovy parts, are there to help improve your grip. And while that can be partially true in some circumstances, the rubber being on the tarmac is what truly gives you the most grip, and that's why race cars and drag cars use racing slicks, which have little to no deviation in the tire at all. Those little grooves are actually there to help push water out of the way of the rubber so you can maintain grip. When the tire fails to do this, from there either being too much water on the road or not enough tread left on your tire, you can hydroplane, which is when the car feels like it's just sliding on a sheet of ice. A lot of people in the car community know and actively abuse this fact, which is why so many teenagers trying to drift for the first time either use snow or the rain, as it makes losing grip much easier, intentionally or not. But this doesn't just apply to local adrenaline junkies. Rain makes every single part of racing feel different and more dangerous. Aside from the hydroplaning, the rain also makes visibility extraordinarily bad. You have windshield wipers for a reason, right? While driving through a storm around town isn't exactly the most fun, imagine doing it in a car with double the horsepower you have now, with 10 or more cars around you, moving at over 100 miles an hour. For mere mortals like you and I, we'd probably make it no more than 5 minutes before smashing into a wall or ending up as a bumper sticker. And in some cases, the professionals don't fare much better. While we feel in the modern day as though we can conquer the rain and race with it, within reason and regulation, the rain doesn't always care to listen to our thoughts and wants. Even a single moment lapse of concentration can cause a spin-out or a race-ending crash. Between the risk of hydroplaning, the lack of visibility, water also affecting the performance of the braking systems, racing becomes slower too, with drivers needing to take more precautions than usual to ensure that everyone on the track stays safe. The fans get wet, the camera crews have to make sure their gear doesn't get soaked, and overall it kinda just becomes a problem for everyone involved. But while the rain will cause a world of problems, it also can give us some of the most entertaining racing, as well as the most beautiful. A driver can suddenly take a wrong turn and dive from first to last, but watching a spray of water rush from the back of a car as it pushes itself through the elements is one of the most beautiful things that I can imagine. I think the thing that I find most interesting about rain in motorsport is that it can either make the scariest situations in racing or some of the most serene. Let me use an example to better illustrate my point. The very end of Grid Legend's story leads you to Strada Alpina, the longest track in the game at over 7 miles per lap, and it's set in the middle of the stormiest night you've ever faced racing. Between the adrenaline of racing by itself, and then this being the championship-winning race as well, your heart is already pumping pretty hard. But when you enter a poorly lit back road with a pour of rain smashing against your windshield while watching an RPM gauge scream at you to upshift, sitting behind the wheel gives you some pretty crazy nerves if you let yourself get immersed. Now, let me show you the exact same track, the same car, and the same time of day, just without the other racers or the championship pressure. I don't know about you, but that suddenly becomes one of the most peaceful experiences I've ever felt. I find myself coming back to this track after a long day of work and just needing to relax, and I could never understand why until I started writing this script. Feeling in control of a race car makes me feel extraordinarily calm. Pushing a car around a track and moving faster and faster brings me a sense of euphoria, a runner's high, but for racing, if you will. Add that to the feeling that you get when you're laying down inside while a storm rages on outside, and the symphony of pistons pumping gas behind my head, and I find myself in just about nirvana. One facet of racing that has almost no positives while being in the rain, in my opinion, is rally. Rally is a whole other animal when it comes to racing sports. It's the scariest type in my book, and it's where the sport pushes its drivers to the absolute limits the most. Your only form of navigation is your partner next to you reading out the turns 3 seconds before they hit you for 15 plus miles at a time, on dirt back roads with jumps, dips, and hairpin turns that would have someone like me absolutely shitting their pants if I had to do it in real life. With the rain coming in, the dirt becomes mud, the gravel becomes loose, and the tarmac becomes more slippery, making an already stressful process suddenly nail-biting and white-knuckling. Visibility is even more important in rally, so with the rain coming in, it becomes putting all and complete faith not only in your co-driver, but your instincts and racing knowledge. With modern rally regulations, it's already a pretty insane task, but it was only crazier during the days of all-wheel drive Group B, where the cars had more power than they reasonably should, people would regularly run out onto the track, and the drivers only did the purest of drugs before hopping into the seat and taking off from 0 to 60 in 2.4 seconds. On gravel. Another fascinating faction of driving when it comes to rain is drifting. While at a first glance, rain may only seem like it could bring positives to a sport where losing grip is kind of the entire end goal, but what many fail to realize is that drifting is a very exact science. While sliding around a corner, all it could take is a degree or two of angle change, and that perfect drift you had is now completely gone. It's a perfect balancing act of keeping the car just out of grip so the tires don't grab the road, but enough traction so you can make the car move how you want it to. Rain completely changes the formula on how a driver needs to approach a drift, making the already precise movements necessary into either near perfection or failure. Another problem for drifters that other cars don't face as badly is puddles. Where in a track car you can slow down on a curve, speed up through a straight, or take a different line to avoid it, or in rally where the puddles don't matter since you're some 15 feet in the air at any given time, for a drift car, hitting a puddle the size of a pothole means the run that you just had going is essentially gone, and that's not even to mention when the rain is just letting up. Finding the grip point is crucial, and if it changes 3 times in one corner, then there's not really much you can do about it except spin out. Over the course of time, racing in the rain has had its fair share of people attempting to take on its challenges and conquer one of the great elements, but none did this better than the Rain Man himself, Ayrton Senna. Competing during the same seasons as the legendary Michael Schumacher and the Flying Finn Mika Hakkinen, Senna was a force to be reckoned with on the F1 track, especially in the rain, as his moniker suggests. At first, when he was just a go-kart racer in Sao Paulo during his youth, he would take his kart and take hours upon hours racing in the wet. He practiced so he could become greatest in an aspect of racing that many others, such as Niki Lauda or Alain Prost, openly hated racing in. And when he did eventually go pro, that work absolutely paid off. Of the 41 races that he ran before his death, 13 of them were won during rainy conditions, including his first ever win in 1985. But this wasn't just a few lucky races, it's very clear that he had talent ingrained into him. In the 1993 Grand Prix in England, he started in 4th, lost a position and dropped to 5th, then passed the 4 drivers in front of him to take the lead in 1 lap, all during a torrential downpour. Not only did he do that, he went on to win the race by over a 60-second margin in a sport where a 3-second lead is substantial. When it comes to my personal experience, which is exactly no time officially, so please take this with a grain of salt, racing in the rain makes you feel more in tune with the vehicle you're in. It's a common saying in the car world where a car will talk to you if you learn to listen, and it's never more evident than in the rain, especially when it comes to listening to the tires. Remember the hydroplaning lesson from a little bit ago? That's incredibly relevant to this racing as well, as you can feel the car moving. It becomes more of an extension of yourself rather than something you're just riding in. When you hit a corner too hard and the tire starts to slip, it feels similar to trying to hit a full sprint on a hardwood floor in socks. It takes understanding, care, and discipline to be successful, and in most cases, it can be one of the most rewarding experiences you can have. So, after all of this, all said and done, what's the big takeaway? Well, if you're a fan of racing games but don't like the rain, I would say give it another chance. Push the car a little less, push yourself a little more, and try to feel in tune with the car. Listen and you will be told what you need. But if you aren't, then you just learned that I really, really like racing and I wanted an excuse to talk about it. But with that all being said, it seems like we've reached the end of this story. Thank you all so much for watching, and welcome to 2025. It looks like it's going to be one hell of a year, so I hope you all are as ready as I am. I have been Respect the Badge, and I'm going to go pull an endurance race in the rain. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all very soon. Bye!